Good morning. My name is Teresa Stewart, and this is a short, informative speech entitled Facts About Human Trafficking in Jamaica. Many people take for granted that it happens, but even more so that it happens right here in our country, Jamaica. There are people who have never even heard the term, let alone understand what it really involves and how devastating it can be. Today I want to tell you a little bit about human trafficking, what it is, factors that contribute to it, and what is being done to stop it here in Jamaica. So what is it? According to the United Nations Office on Drug and Crime, human trafficking is a crime against humanity. It is a very real form of slavery that affects all countries, including our own. Even the most developed countries encounter human trafficking. It involves an act of recruiting, transporting, transferring, harboring, or receiving a person through the use of force, coercion, and other methods for the means of exploiting them. Exploitation often occurs in the form of prostitution, which most of us are aware of. It also occurs in the form of forced labor or services, slavery, and even the removal and sale of body organs. Human trafficking is the fastest increasing criminal industry today, coming in second after illegal drug trade. Commonly referred to as modern-day slavery, this illegal trade traces back centuries. Reports from the UNODC, that's the United Nations Office on Drug and Crime, also stated that every year thousands of women, men, and children fall into the hands of traffickers in their own countries and abroad. Every country in the world, the UNODC reported, is affected by human trafficking, whether as a country of origin, transit, or destination for victims. According to a 2013 report from the US Department of State, Jamaica is a source, transit, and destination country for adults and children subjected to sex trafficking and forced labor. Jamaica is reported to be a destination country for women trafficked from the Dominican Republic, Russia, Eastern Europe, Cuba to work in the sex trade. Some Jamaican women and girls have been trafficked to Canada, the United States, the Bahamas, and other Caribbean destinations for commercial sex exploitation. Despite the brutal nature of human trafficking, many countries have either been slow to recognize the problem associated with it or have been unsuccessful in combating it. So what really causes it? Factors of human trafficking have a global resonance, but poverty, high unemployment, and lack of opportunity, the quest for a means of survival, serve as the engine driving human trafficking in humans. Poverty is the leading cause of human trafficking. People living in Jamaica's poverty-stricken garrison communities, territories ruled by criminal dons, effectively outside of the government's control, are especially at risk. Children from poor families are sent to better-off families with the intent of a chance at a better life, are highly vulnerable to prostitution and forced labor. Other at-risk children include those involved in street vending, as well as those engaged in begging. Secondly, the lack of legitimate and fulfilling employment opportunities, particularly in rural communities, have led to what we know as an increase in demand for exotic dancers, workers for domestic and caregiving roles, and the growth of $1 billion sex and entertainment industry, tolerated as a necessary evil, while it criminalizes and discriminates women in prostitution. In addition, massage parlors in Jamaica reportedly often lure women into prostitution under the pretense of employment as massage therapists, and then withhold their wages and restrict their movement. Many do not see this as a serious matter, and often they claim that these people are free and willing participants, except that too many of the participants are minors whose ignorance are being exploited. There are also cases where people unknowingly, in their attempt to either create a better life for their families or themselves, take up offers which promise salaries that are often too good to be true. They accept these offers in order to provide for comfortable living situations and end up in situations that are much different from what was promised. They are often held captive and cannot go back home to their families, or they're sold into prostitution. So what is being done about it? Jamaica is reported to be While the government of Jamaica and numerous non-profit organizations have endeavored to combat the problem, the response is widely viewed as lacking and inadequate. Notwithstanding these inadequacies, the government of Jamaica has sought to undertake multiple efforts to combat human trafficking in the country. Legislatively, the government prohibits all forms of human trafficking through its comprehensive Trafficking in Persons Act, which became effective in March 2007 and which prescribed penalties of up to 10 years of imprisonment. The law also prohibits holding a person's passport as a means of keeping an individual in labor or service. The government also dedicated police officers to the National Task Force Against Trafficking in Persons, an interagency body that coordinates anti-trafficking activities, and reconstituted the Organized Crime Division of its police force to focus more attention on human trafficking crimes. A vetted police airport interdiction task force created through a memorandum of understanding between Jamaica and the United States in 2005 investigates cases of drug trafficking and human trafficking at ports of entries. In conjunction with the International Organization of Migration, police, consulars, and judicial officials receive anti-trafficking training each year. The Trafficking in Persons Prevention, Suppression, and Punishment Act became law in Jamaica in 2007 with the goal of identifying, sanctioning, and preventing human trafficking and to assist and protect vulnerable potential victims as well as those rescued from captivity. Additionally, as a method of prevention, the government has embarked on numerous methods of informing the public about the dangers of human trafficking. They've also been tightening up on permits for establishments that have exotic dancers. And finally, the government has also reported conducting high-profile raids on hotels and nightclubs in an effort to prevent and reduce the number of reports of child sex tourism and sexual exploitation in the industry. All in all, human trafficking is a serious crime that not many people are informed about. Young women and children are forced into this sickening business every day. And whilst there is no compelling evidence, it is arguable and highly probable that some of the young women and girls that are reported missing daily are involved or victims of human trafficking. Women and children are even more vulnerable to exploitation, and despite an aggressive campaign to inform people about the dangers of human trafficking, many still fall victim because of their ignorance of the subject. And while some choose to look away and pretend it doesn't exist, or that the individual chose to do so on their own free will, the government is increasing its effort to clamp down on those who decide to engage in this criminal activity. Thank you very much.